So what would it mean to regulate speech on the internet, to regulate these ads, the YouTube, Drudge Report?
Well, I think this portends a great threat. When you look at the internet today, you'll see hundreds of thousands of postings in all forms, from chat rooms to Facebook and social media to websites that people build to put out political messages to YouTube postings and, of course, blogs, right? And people have been doing this for a decade or more now, and the American people have become quite accustomed to going online and picking up political commentary and information. But if the Federal Election Commission were to start regulating all of those blogs and websites and social media pages, I can't imagine what it would take. It would probably require a team of government regulators culling the internet daily to look for violators, to look for people who aren't reporting their expenditures online. Well, what is the cost of a blog, for example? Would we have to start sending letters out to all these posters saying, how much money did you spend on your blog? So I can't imagine a regulatory regime reaching deep into the internet.
It would have a huge effect on American life, that's for sure. And I mean, no offense, everyone respects the FEC, but it's an unelected body. How would it have the power to regulate political speech on the internet? I mean, shouldn't Congress be doing that anyway?
I think you're right. Let me go back to the point I made just a minute ago. The only writ that the Federal Election Commission has to regulate political speech at all is to regulate large expenditures to disseminate speech. The Supreme Court recognized that the reason we do regulate any speech at all is to prevent corruption of the political system and the corruption that can come from contributions to candidates. But, you know, the internet has been a low-cost mechanism for people to speak and communicate.
They're trying to say that if you promote something, you're pro-gun, that you shouldn't be able to do it because that's political. Or that if you're a church, you can't say you're against abortion because that's political. Everything has a political area to it. Everything can be called political. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or the freedom of the press, or of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition their government for a redress of grievances. You can go read the First Amendment. It's got the press, it's got assembly, it's got demonstrations, it's got expression, it's got religious freedom, that you cannot make a law. It's not your area. Common sense. Bloomberg can spend $100 million in the last 3 years. That was in Bloomberg last week. He spent over $100 million of his money, gotten from Wall Street insider deals, to try to get people like Mike Martinez elected mayor who says, I want to confiscate all guns. And he's got enough Californians coming into Austin to do it, if he had his way. To try to get rid of the sheriff in Milwaukee that said, buy guns and protect yourself. $500,000 got spent trying to get rid of him. Brought in out of New York City. I don't blame New Yorkers. They hate their political class. But what is New York doing in Wisconsin and in Texas telling people what to do? Oh, but Bloomberg can give his money all day because it's not political that he wants to restrict guns, and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. I think I'm going to throw up. Bloomberg himself, from his own personal money, gave $150,000. But you add all the Bill Gatesian PACs together, $500,000. But Dinesh D'Souza got 3 or 4 friends to give the maximum together in a pool, didn't fill out the right paperwork to try to get his friend elected to the Senate, running for Hillary's seat, and he is now spending 9 months in a jail. And the Orwellian headline was, Dinesh D'Souza escapes prison, evades being able to go to prison. And you read he's being locked up in one of those minimum security things they don't call a prison. See, because there's 2 million people in medium and maximum security, another 5 million in these other lockdown facilities. They don't like the fact that we have more prisoners than anywhere else in the world, so they don't call it prisons. It's all games, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want to get into the Nazi rat line. I want to get into law lets IRS seize accounts on suspicion, no crime required. How about a headline, law lets government agents rape your daughters? I mean, if they passed a law like that, would it be legitimate or would it be illegitimate? I don't care if you have a law that black people got to go out and put a yoke around their neck and pull a plow, the law is a fraud. I don't care if you interpret some regulation you passed, back in the 80s, a reign of terror to quote, legalize government robbing old people mainly. They mainly target old people that are right at retirement age because they know they just freak out and go have a heart attack and their kids don't help them. I've identified that pattern. And the IRS says they've done a great job. They're very proud of themselves. Arnold's Park, Iowa, for almost 40 years, Carol Hinders has dished out Mexican specialties at her modest cash-only restaurant. For just as long, she deposited the earnings at a small bank branch a block away until last year when 2 tax agents knocked on her door and informed her that they had seized her checking account, almost $33,000. By the way, you don't get it back. The Internal Revenue Service agents did not accuse Ms. Hinders of money laundering or cheating on her taxes. In fact, she had not been charged with any crime. Instead, the money was seized solely because she had deposited less than $10,000 at a time, which they viewed as an attempt to avoid triggering a required government report. She went on and explained with her receipts that she'd never made $10,000, while she had made $10,000 in a week. That's why the deposits were $500, $1,000, $600. And they just said, it doesn't matter, Cupcake. We interpret this as that. Your money's ours. And there's other people in this article who've spent hundreds of thousands trying to get hundreds of thousands back, and the government will pile in with everything they've got to make sure you got to spend millions to get it back because they want to continue this premeditated, racketeering, organized crime practice, and that's what it is. Now, let's expand on that. Remember the fellow we had on a couple years ago? I have to look up his name. Headline from CBS News with a straight face in Chicago was, "Man faces life in prison for filming police." They come out to his junkyard that his parents had, that he owns, they're dead. And they haul off a bunch of his 50s cars that are worth tens of thousands apiece. And they say, well, we've changed the zoning now. You used to live out in the county? Well, we call it the city now. We're taking your cars. So he filmed them, so they arrested him. Michael Allison. Just type in the headline, Michael Allison faces life in prison. And he faced, because of the concurrent sentences, because then he went and filmed them again, life in prison, and the state sent a state attorney down and pushed for the maximum conviction till the judge said, this is Twilight Zone. I'm ordering this case dropped. Guess what they did? The state put money in to try to unseat that judge. I mean, these people are authoritarian crazies. They want to take old ladies everything they got out of the bank. No judge, no jury, no arrest, no nothing. They want to arrest and disappear whoever they can. They want to put Michael Allison with no criminal record, a grease monkey that works on cars and owns his own scrapyard, probably a fun guy to go play poker with. They don't like that. You're not a big, giant box store. You're not allowed to have lemonade stands. You're not allowed to have farmers markets. They're shutting them down everywhere. They don't want little people getting together and going down to the corner store and buying enchiladas. By the way, I saw the article. David Knight covered it yesterday. Will you guys print it, where the illegal alien shot 2 cops out in California? And he'd been deported twice and had all these felonies. And I saw another story where they're still fighting and putting money in to try to unseat any sheriff that will report to ICE. La Raza, Mechia, the Democratic Party, will come run against even Democrats in places like Travis County. If they follow the federal law they haven't been able to repeal. There it is, Sacramento. Area cop shooting suspect had already been deported twice, Breitbart, and had this huge felony record. And then if you arrest someone and you report that they've got felonies and run that through to ICE, do you know what the Democratic Party does? They come and try to throw you out of your Democrat or a Republican. This is crazy, total criminal gang energy, where we're going to take old ladies' bank accounts for no reason. We're going to arrest people that film us and try to put them in jail for life on their own property at their junkyard. We're going to let people go that have attacked and have felonies and have been deported twice so they can kill cops. It is Twilight Zone. So I want to be clear. It's not the average cops. It's not even the average bureaucrat or even the average IRS person that is a hardcore criminal, but it is the people running the system that are. And more of the criminal energy is so strong that they are boldly trying to crush everyone's will and just come completely out with the most outrageous stuff you can imagine to set the precedent to do whatever they want in this country. There are hundreds of thousands of asset forfeiture seizure cases a year in this country where no drugs or anything illegal is found, and it turns out in court the money's completely legitimate. Someone would have to be crazy to keep all their cash in a bank or keep all their precious metals in a bank. Hedge your bets. And all the time you'll hear about they'll SWAT team someone because they were rumored to have $300,000 worth of gold. California's really bad on this. They SWAT team people for as little as $100,000 in gold because a, quote,